Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss more real stories and powerful life lessons that can change the way you see the world. Now, let me tell you what happened when my boss fired me just because I started looking for a better job after she refused to give me a raise for 3 years. She thought she was teaching me a lesson, but she did not expect what happened next. I still remember my first day at that company. I was full of excitement and hope. I felt like this job was the beginning of something good for me. I believed that if I worked hard, stayed loyal, and showed them my best, everything would work out. On my first day, my boss welcomed me with a big smile. She told me I was a great addition to the team. She said that hard work and loyalty always pay off in this company. I trusted her words. I believed that if I stayed focused and kept giving my best, success would naturally follow. In the first few months, I gave everything to the job. I stayed late whenever needed. I arrived early. I took extra responsibilities without being asked. I helped my coworkers even when it was not my job. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to show them that they could count on me. Every time there was a difficult project, I was there. Every time there was a problem, I tried to solve it. I believed that if I kept saying yes and kept working hard, my efforts would be noticed. The first year passed quickly. I was proud of how much I had learned and contributed. I felt ready to ask for a raise. I thought it was only fair. I had proven myself. I had done more than what was written in my job description. So, one afternoon, I gathered my courage and asked my boss for a meeting. I was nervous, but hopeful. I sat across from her, explained how much I had contributed, and politely asked if we could talk about a raise. She listened with a kind face. Then she told me that the company was going through a hard time. She said there were no budgets for raises at the moment. She told me my work was appreciated, and that if I stayed patient, good things would happen. She said maybe next year would be better. I trusted her again. I thought to myself, she knows what she is doing. She sees my hard work. I just need to be patient. I left her office with mixed feelings, but deep down, I decided to believe in her words. The second year started, and I continued working even harder. I took fewer breaks. I said yes to every extra task. I covered for colleagues when they were sick. I worked late nights and sometimes weekends. I gave my full heart to that company. I told myself that loyalty would be rewarded, that hard work would pay off. I watched other people in the office getting small raises, small promotions. I clapped for them, smiled, and kept working. I thought maybe my turn would come next. But when the end of the second year came, nothing changed for me. No raise, no promotion, not even a real conversation about my future in the company. I started feeling invisible. I started questioning if my hard work was really being seen. Still, I did not want to give up. I thought maybe it was my fault. Maybe I needed to work even harder. So I pushed myself even more. I sacrificed more personal time. I skipped family events. I skipped vacations. My whole life became about my job. I thought it was temporary. I thought the reward was just around the corner. In the third year, I began to feel tired. Tired not just in my body, but in my spirit. I started feeling like no matter how much I gave, it would never be enough. Every time I looked around, I saw new people joining the company. Many of them had less experience than me. Some of them even asked me for help because they did not know how things worked. And yet, I knew they were being paid more than me. I knew because sometimes they would accidentally mention it, or sometimes HR would make a small mistake, and I would see it. It hurt, but I told myself to stay quiet, to stay loyal. Maybe next year, I kept telling myself. One day, after another exhausting week, I sat down and really thought about my life. I realized that 3 years had passed, and I was still in the same position, with the same pay. No recognition, no growth, no real respect. I realized that loyalty should be a two-way street. If you give everything to someone and they give you nothing back, that is not loyalty. That is a trap. I started feeling something new. Not anger, not sadness, just a quiet, clear understanding. They were never going to value me the way I deserved. That was the moment I decided to start looking for a new job. I did it quietly. I did not tell anyone. During the day, I still gave my best at work, but at night I updated my resume. I sent applications. I prepared for interviews. It was not easy. After 3 years in the same place, a part of me had started believing that maybe I was not good enough for anything better. But every time I had a small doubt, I reminded myself why I started. I reminded myself that wanting respect is not wrong. Wanting fair pay is not wrong. Weeks passed. I had a few interviews. Some companies rejected me. Some interviews went badly. I started doubting myself again. Maybe I had stayed too long. Maybe I had let my skills get rusty. But then one day, I had an interview with a company that felt different. They listened when I spoke. They asked real questions. They treated me like a person with value, not just another name on a paper. After a few rounds of interviews, they called me. They offered me a position, a good one, with better pay, better benefits, and most importantly, respect. I felt so happy, but also scared. I had been at my current job for so long. It was familiar. It was safe in a strange way, even if it was unhealthy. Change is always scary, even when it is good. I told myself I would accept the offer, but I needed a few days to wrap up things properly at my old job. I did not want to leave badly. I wanted to leave respectfully, giving proper notice, making sure my work was in good order. But life does not always go the way we plan. One morning, just a day after I received the offer, my boss called me into her office. Her face was different this time. It was not kind, it was cold. She looked at me like I had betrayed her. She said she heard I was job hunting. She said it was disrespectful to the company. She said if I was not fully committed, then there was no place for me there. Before I could explain anything, she told me I was being let go immediately. No notice, no goodbyes. I sat there for a moment, stunned. After 3 years of giving everything, after 3 years of loyalty, after 3 years of sacrifices, this was how it ended. Not even a thank you. Not even a moment of real conversation. Just cold words and a closed door. But as I walked out of her office, something strange happened inside me. I felt free. Truly free for the first time in years. I realized that being fired was not the disaster I thought it would be. It was a door opening, not closing. I had another job offer waiting, a better one, a healthier one, a new beginning. My boss thought she was punishing me. She thought she was teaching me a lesson about loyalty. But in truth, she gave me a gift. She set me free from a place that would have kept taking from me without ever giving back. She freed me from a place that made me forget my own worth. As I packed my things, I thought about all the times I had stayed late, all the times I had sacrificed family time, all the times I had pushed myself to exhaustion. I realized something very important. Companies will take what you give. They will take your time. They will take your energy. They will take your loyalty. But not all of them will give back. Not all of them will value you the way you deserve. It is not wrong to work hard. It is not wrong to be loyal. But it is wrong to stay where you are not respected. It is wrong to believe that your value depends on how much you can endure unfair treatment. Respect is not something you should have to beg for. It is something you deserve, simply because you are doing your best. That day, as I left the building for the last time, I promised myself something. I promised that I would never again stay in a place that made me doubt my own worth. I promised that I would never again confuse loyalty with self-abandonment. I promised that I would trust myself more than I trusted empty promises. Walking to my car with a box in my hands, I felt many things. Fear, because change is scary. Sadness, because endings are sad, even when they are good for you. But most of all, I felt something stronger than both fear and sadness. I felt hope. Real, deep hope. Because for the first time in a long time, my future was mine again. Not in someone else's hands. Not waiting for permission. It was mine to build, and that was the beginning of everything changing. When I woke up the next morning after being fired, everything felt strange. It was a weekday, but I had nowhere to go. No emails to answer, no meetings to attend. I sat by my window with a cup of tea, feeling the quietness in my chest. For the first time in a long time, I had a moment to breathe without feeling like I was running behind. I thought about the last 3 years, how I had given so much of my life to a company that replaced me without even blinking. A part of me felt sadness, but a bigger part of me felt something else. I felt a small flame inside, a feeling that maybe this was not the end of my story. Maybe it was the beginning. Later that day, I called the company that had offered me a new job. I told them I was ready to accept. They were happy. They said they could not wait for me to join. In that moment, I realized how different it felt to be wanted. Truly wanted, not tolerated, not taken for granted. I hung up the phone and smiled. A real smile, the kind I had not felt in a long time. I packed up my things, cleaned my small apartment, and prepared for a new chapter. It felt good to prepare for something that was truly mine. On my first day at the new job, everything felt fresh. The air smelled sweeter. The sky looked brighter. When I entered the building, people smiled at me warmly. The managers introduced themselves kindly. They asked about my interests, not just my skills. They treated me like a human being, not just a worker. It was a small thing, but it meant everything to me. For so long, I had accepted being invisible, being just another name on a list. Here I was seen. In the first few weeks, I noticed many differences. At meetings, my ideas were welcomed. Even when I was new, people listened when I spoke. They asked for my opinion. They said thank you when I finished a project. I was not used to that. I almost did not know how to react. For a while, I kept waiting for the bad side to show up. I kept expecting to be ignored again, to be used again. But it never happened. The respect stayed. The kindness stayed. It slowly started to heal the tired parts of my heart. I realized something very important. During that time, sometimes you stay in a bad place for so long that you forget what good even feels like. You start thinking it is normal to be treated badly. You tell yourself that work is not supposed to be enjoyable, that you are supposed to suffer. But that is not true. Respect is not a luxury. Kindness is not rare. You just have to find the right place where it is normal, not special. I worked hard at my new job, just like I had before, but this time it felt different. I was not working to prove that I deserved basic respect. I was working to grow, to contribute, to be part of something good. When you are respected, work feels lighter. Problems still come, but they do not crush you. Long days still happen, but they do not empty you, because you know that you matter. You know that your efforts are seen. As months passed, I grew more confident. I started suggesting new ideas, leading small projects, helping new people who joined the team. I realized how much knowledge and skill I had developed in the past years, even when it had gone unrecognized. It was never about my ability. It was about the environment. In the right soil, a seed grows naturally. In the wrong soil, it struggles no matter how strong it is. I also learned another big lesson. Never tie your worth to a company. Companies are not your family, no matter what slogans they use. A good company can feel like a second home. A bad company can feel like a prison. But at the end of the day, it is still business. You must respect yourself first. You must protect your dreams, your time, your health, because no one else will do it for you if you do not. There were still moments when fear would whisper in my ear. Fear that maybe this happiness would not last. Fear that maybe I was not really good enough. Fear that maybe I would lose everything, again. Fear is a stubborn companion, but every time fear spoke, I reminded myself of what I had survived. I reminded myself that even when the worst happened, I found a way forward. I reminded myself that my worth was not decided by one boss, one job, or one mistake. The memory of how my old boss treated me stayed with me for a while. It used to make me angry. I used to replay that moment in my head, wondering if I should have said more, defended myself more. But over time, the anger melted away. It was replaced by something quieter. Gratitude. Strange, but true. I became grateful for what happened. Because if she had not fired me, maybe I would have stayed trapped for many more years. Sometimes, life pushes you when you refuse to move. Sometimes, the worst moments are actually the greatest gifts in disguise. I also started talking to friends who were going through similar struggles. I listened to their stories about being undervalued, overworked, ignored. I saw the same pain in their eyes that I had felt. I told them my story. I told them that leaving is scary, but staying in the wrong place can destroy your spirit. I told them that they are allowed to want better, that they are allowed to choose themselves. Some of them listened. Some of them made changes. Some stayed where they were. And that is okay. Everyone moves in their own time. One day, a friend asked me if I regretted anything. If I regretted giving so much to my old company. If I regretted staying loyal for too long. I thought about it deeply, and then I said no. I do not regret it. Because every step, even the painful ones, led me to where I am now. Every sleepless night, every hard lesson, every silent disappointment, it all shaped me. It made me stronger, wiser, softer in the right places. I am not proud of how they treated me, but I am proud of how I survived it. There is a certain kind of strength that only comes from being broken and rebuilding yourself, a quiet strength. A strength that does not need to shout. A strength that simply exists, solid and sure, deep inside you. I found that strength in myself during this journey, and it is something no one can ever take away from me. As I built my new life, I also changed the way I thought about work. I stopped seeing my job as my whole identity. I started seeing it as one part of my life, not the center of it. I made time for hobbies I loved. I made time for family and friends. I made time for rest. I realized that a healthy life is not about working yourself into the ground. It is about balance. It is about protecting your energy for the things that truly matter. I also learned the importance of setting boundaries. In my old job, I had no boundaries. I said yes to everything. I thought that saying no was selfish. But in my new job, I learned that saying no is sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for others. It keeps you honest. It keeps you healthy. It keeps you human. Setting boundaries felt hard at first. I was afraid people would think I was lazy or ungrateful. But I realized that people who respect you will also respect your limits, and people who do not respect your limits never really respected you in the first place. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are doors to let the right people in. As I continued growing in my new company, I was given opportunities I had only dreamed about before: leadership roles, creative projects, the chance to mentor others. Each new step built my confidence a little more. Each new success reminded me that the old story was wrong. I was not lazy. I was not replaceable. I was not invisible. I simply needed the right environment to bloom. One evening, after a long but fulfilling day at work, I sat on my balcony and watched the sunset. I thought about the long road I had traveled, the fear, the sadness, the anger, the healing. It all came together in that moment. I felt at peace. I felt proud. I felt ready for whatever would come next. Because the truth is, life will always bring challenges. There will always be difficult bosses, unfair situations, hard choices. But once you learn your worth, once you truly see yourself clearly, no one can ever make you small again. No one can ever convince you that you are lucky just to be tolerated. You know better. You expect better. You create better. That knowledge is priceless. It changes the way you walk through the world. It changes the way you look at yourself in the mirror. It changes the way you dream about your future. You stop asking for permission to exist. You stop waiting for someone to notice your value. You know it. You own it. As I looked up at the stars that night, I made one more promise to myself. I promised that I would never again give my loyalty to people who saw me as disposable. I promised that I would never again stay silent when my heart was screaming for change. I promised that I would live a life where respect was not a rare gift, but a basic expectation. And as the cool night air wrapped around me, I felt something deep and true settle in my soul. I knew I was finally free. Truly free. Not just from a bad job, but from all the lies I had once believed about what I deserved. And that kind of freedom is worth everything. Starting over taught me something important about life. It taught me that most of the time, the things we fear losing are not really the things we need. I had spent 3 years terrified of losing my old job. I thought that if I left, I would lose everything: my security, my future, my sense of purpose. But when I finally walked away, I did not lose myself. I found myself. I found the version of me who had been hiding under fear, waiting for a chance to breathe. That version of me was not weak. That version of me was strong, brave, and ready for more. As the months passed at my new job, I started to understand success in a different way. Before, I thought success was about climbing higher no matter what. Getting the next promotion, the next title, the next salary raise. I thought success meant never stopping, never resting, always proving. But now success felt quieter. It felt like waking up and not dreading the day ahead. It felt like working with people who respected each other. It felt like having time for family, for friends, for myself. It felt like knowing that my value did not depend on what someone else thought of me. The old mindset was hard to break. Sometimes I would catch myself feeling guilty if I left work on time. I would hear that old voice in my head saying, "Stay, late, or they will think you are not committed. Work harder, or you will lose your chance." But every time that voice came up, I gently reminded myself that a healthy workplace does not punish you for having a life. It does not make you choose between your job and your well-being. Real commitment is shown through quality, not endless hours. Real loyalty is built on trust, not fear. I also started paying attention to the small things that made a big difference. Like managers who said thank you without needing a reason. Like coworkers who shared credit instead of stealing it. Like policies that supported people, not just profits. I realized that good environments are not perfect, but they are honest. They do not expect you to be a machine. They expect you to be human. And when you are allowed to be human, you give better, work anyway. You give not because you are scared, but because you are proud to be part of something real. One day, about 6 months into my new job, I got a call from an old coworker from my previous company. She had heard about what happened. She told me that after I left, a lot of things changed. Some people started asking harder questions about how they were being treated. Some started looking for other jobs. Some decided they deserved better too. Hearing that made me smile. Sometimes you think your story ends when you walk away, but sometimes your courage lights a path for others too. Sometimes standing up for yourself gives others permission to do the same. I also realized that the way we leave places matters. I could have left my old job angry and bitter. I could have spoken badly about everyone there. But I chose not to. I chose to leave with quiet, dignity, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved it. I did not want to carry their bitterness into my new life. I did not want their mistakes to poison my future. Forgiveness is not always about others. Sometimes it is the final gift you give yourself, the gift of being free. As time passed, my confidence grew even stronger. I started mentoring younger employees who were just starting their careers. I told them the things I wish someone had told me years ago. I told them that it is good to work hard, but never at the cost of their health. I told them that loyalty is beautiful, but it must be mutual. I told them that their dreams matter, even if no one else sees them yet. Watching them grow, seeing them smile and succeed, gave me a deep happiness that no paycheck alone could provide. One of the biggest lessons I learned is that you must never be afraid to outgrow a place. Growth is natural. Change is natural. Sometimes the company you started with is not the company you are meant to finish with. Sometimes your journey needs a different path. Staying in a place that no longer fits you does not make you loyal. It makes you stuck. It traps your potential. It dims your light. And the world needs your light, even if some people are too blind to see it. Looking back now, I can see how every painful step had a purpose. If my boss had given me a raise that first year, maybe I would have stayed longer. Maybe I would have accepted less than I deserved for even more years. Maybe I would have settled for a life that made me small. Being denied what I thought I needed forced me to find what I really needed. Being pushed out of a door forced me to open a better one. Life does not always give us what we want, but it often gives us exactly what we need to grow. Another thing I learned is that titles and salaries are not the full picture. You can have a big title and still feel small. You can have a high salary and still feel poor inside. True wealth is waking up excited about your life. True success is looking in the mirror and being proud of who you are becoming. Money matters, of course. We all need security. But respect, purpose, and peace matter too. They are not extra. They are essential. There were days in the new job that were hard. Days when projects failed. Days when mistakes happened. Days when doubts crept in. But the difference was clear. In this place, failure was not used to shame you. It was used to teach you. Mistakes were not weapons. They were lessons, and that made all the difference. It made it easier to take risks, to be creative, to grow without fear. I also changed the way I think about loyalty. Loyalty is not staying silent when you are hurt. Loyalty is not sacrificing your dreams for someone else's comfort. Loyalty is being true to your values, your goals, your dignity. It is choosing to stay where you are respected and leaving where you are not. It is building relationships that are based on mutual trust, not fear or control. Through all of this, I learned to listen to my own voice. For too long, I had listened to everyone else. Bosses, co-workers, even my own doubts. I let them tell me what I was worth. I let them tell me what I deserved. No more. Now, I listen to my inner voice, the one that knows when something feels wrong, the one that knows when it is time to stay and when it is time to move. That voice is wise. That voice is honest, and that voice is mine. As more time passed, I started dreaming bigger dreams. Dreams I had once been too tired to even think about. Dreams of leading my own team. Dreams of starting projects that could make a real difference. Dreams of building a life where work supported my happiness instead of stealing it. And slowly, step by step, I started making those dreams real. One evening, after a successful project launch, my new boss called me into her office. She thanked me for my leadership. She told me that my work had made a real impact. She asked me where I saw myself in the future. I almost laughed from surprise. No one had ever asked me that before. Not in my old job. Not even once. Being asked that simple question made me realize how far I had come. From being invisible to being seen. From being replaceable to being valued. That night, as I sat quietly reflecting, I thought about all the people still stuck in places that do not see them. People working late into the night, hoping for a thank you that never comes. People giving their best to companies that only take. If you are one of those people, I want you to know something. Your value is not decided by who recognizes it. Your worth is not erased just because someone refuses to see it. You matter. You are enough. You deserve to be respected, to be valued, to be happy. Leaving a bad situation is hard. It feels like jumping without knowing if there will be a net to catch you. It feels like stepping into the dark, hoping there will be light. But sometimes you have to leap before you feel ready. Sometimes you have to trust that the ground will appear under your feet once you take the step. Fear will tell you to stay small. Fear will tell you that things are not that bad. Fear will tell you that it is selfish to want more. But the truth is, you are allowed to want a life that feels good to live. You are allowed to want mornings where you do not wake up with dread. You are allowed to want work that respects your mind, your time, your heart. You are allowed to leave places, people, and situations that make you forget how valuable you are. You are allowed to build a life where you are not just surviving, but thriving. I will not pretend it is easy. I will not tell you that everything falls into place right away. There will be hard days. There will be scary moments. There will be doubts. But every step you take toward a better life is a victory. Every small act of courage matters. Every time you choose yourself, you are rewriting your story into something stronger, something truer, something beautiful. Today, when I look back at everything that happened, I do not feel bitterness. I feel pride. Pride that I found the strength to walk away. Pride that I trusted myself even when it was hard. Pride that I chose growth over fear. And if I could do it, you can too. Never forget that you have the power to change your story. You have the power to choose yourself. You have the power to leave behind what hurts you and walk toward what heals you. And you deserve every bit of goodness that comes your way. So if you are standing at a crossroads right now, wondering if you should stay or go, wondering if you are asking for too much, wondering if it is worth it, let me tell you this. You are not asking for too much. You are asking for just enough. You are asking for the respect, the fairness, the kindness that should have been there all along. And yes, it is worth it.